Okay, so today we're going to talk about the listing presentation, and really what the listing presentation does is help guide you through the process of selling your value. Really the best thing you can do whenever you're presented with an opportunity to get a listing, even if it's a family member, even if it's someone you know, even if you're guaranteed to get the listing, is to do this because by doing the listing presentation, you help explain the value of working with you as an agent and working with Weichert, as well as why you really deserve a higher commission rate, right? We always try to get 6% on our listings and things like that. And the reason for that is that we do provide a lot of value, and there are a lot of services that we provide to any given seller. So, the listing presentation, and we'll kind of go through an example towards the end of this meeting today, but it's customizable, right? And so, if you're given an opportunity to go on a listing presentation, in New Jersey, Tom, you have the opportunity to edit it online. Here in New York, some of the pages are customizable. This is the first page right here. Your bio page, the final page of the presentation. And so it's something that we can do, and I can help you put this together. I just ask for at least a day lead time, so I can definitely do it, and we can go over it together as well. But every time that you do this, you get better at it, and practice makes perfect and makes us become better skilled at actually presenting this listing presentation. So really the first thing, and again, we're going to be talking about New York specifically, is that you are the New York specialist, right? And you need to believe that, and you need to believe that you will do a better job at selling this home than anyone else can, right? And there are many reasons for this, right? And my biggest thing is that you want to think of any objections that the person could have to working with you and have a way around it, right? And so what I brand us as is the biggest boutique company in New York City, right? We might be small and mighty here in New York, with under 100 agents and things like that. But for a seller, that means that you are going to have my attention, right, as your listing agent, that of the office and that of the manager, because it's not like you have 100 listings at any given time, right? We don't have thousands of listings. We have dozens at any given time. And we're going to show your property, right? We're not going to use this to show other properties and to kind of bounce people between listings and things like that. We are 100% dedicated to the seller and to the seller's listing, right? And so, again, we're very boutique here in New York City, but we have, oops, sorry, that was the same slide. But we're a regional powerhouse, right? We have 110 corporate offices from upstate New York down to Virginia. And this means that people across the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic are going to see it. We have over 6,500 corporate agents who bring in results for listings in every market that we serve. And we're one of the largest privately owned real estate firms in the entire country, right? And so we're small, boutique, kind of very, very attention serving here in New York City. We grow a little bit as a regional powerhouse. And we're also a national and global player, right? Most people don't know this. And most of the time when you're talking to someone, they don't know about this, right? Through our affiliate firms, we have offices in 43 states and every major market across the United States. There's about 600 plus affiliate offices, and that connects them with people searching in any market across the country, right? So in California, in Texas, in Arizona, right? In all these different places, we have Weichert offices. And so if people are looking on the Weichert.com website, they're going to see your listing, right? And think of how powerful that is, right? We're not just a firm, some of the largest firms in New York City only have offices in New York, New Jersey, and Florida, right? That's not giving them a dynamic expansion to where their listing is being seen. We're also founding members of a company called the Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. What that means is that we are a small independently owned company, and we syndicate our listings with all the other affiliates, right? And that gets us in, again, every single market across the United States, as well as in dozens of countries. And so buyers who are looking overseas will see the listing, right? And they'll be connected to us. And again, you're going to have more exposure than some of these companies that aren't members of the Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. So again, kind of to go into what I think are some of the most important slides. And again, we'll get into this a little bit when we actually go through the full listing presentation. But, Weichert.com maximizes the engagement with the listing, right? And so, the site was revamped about 2 years ago, and it's a site that's what we'd call a sticky site, right? And what that means is that people can see a lot of stuff. They can see maps, they can see schools, they can see a mortgage calculator, right? They can really get the ins and outs of any listing, and it's actually programmed to work extremely well on mobile. Again, I don't know the last time you visited Weichert.com, but it has an amazing presence and it gets a lot of reach. It also will capture their information, start sending them listings, start sending them emails about the property that they're looking at and things like that. And people tend to stay on the site longer than they would on one of our competitors. You know, we drive people, and we had about 40 million visitors last year, making it one of the top 10 most looked at real estate websites across the country. Again, the greatest thing about our breadth of markets that we serve is that you're going to be capturing people from all those different markets. They put tens of millions of dollars a year into online marketing to make sure that Weichert is among the first couple pages in any search. Again, over 1 million search terms lead to Weichert.com. And there's also social media content that drives them to the website as well. And we syndicate on every single website, right? And this is especially important when you're talking to someone who might be, doing a for sale by owner or trying to sell it themselves, right? From Weichert.com, the listing is pushed out to every major real estate website, right? To StreetEasy, Zillow, Realtor, the New York Times, while it still exists in having a real estate site, Homes.com, Wall Street Journal, Realty Track, Home Finder, right? Trulia, luxury real estate, things like that. There are all these different websites that syndicate out. And so that means that it's going to appear on every major website. When you talk to a for sale by owner, and again, this is a little bit of a tangent, but when you do talk to a for sale by owner, most of them will just spend on one website, right? And they're missing out on a slew of buyers. Anyone who has a listing will know that you don't only get, requests from StreetEasy and from Realtor.com, but you get them from a ton of different websites. And because of that, the exposure is really important. Homes.com is a big one here in New York. It's going to appear there. Line City, which is OLR's website. Excuse me. Again, making sure that everything is online is important, and making sure that it's everywhere online is important, because you never know when someone's going to be looking at one of these small websites and finds the listing. Again, the other thing that we really have is that we have a way of getting the listing out to local markets, right? Most people move within a 12-mile radius of where they live. Again, we do capture the people who are moving from further than that, but we do local market emails to generate leads, right? We use Cole Realty. We use a third-party source to send out thousands of email blasts every time we get a listing, right? Think of the power of that. And again, I can tell you that one of the agents has really used this and has sold one of her listings because of these mass emails that she sent out, right? Not many other people are doing it. And the other thing that we do is we do mailers, and we target not only, condos and co-ops in the neighborhood, but we target rental buildings. And a lot of times, especially in New York City, renters are going to turn into buyers, and they don't have a broker. So it's great for you, right? You could probably double in the deal. But there are lots of opportunities to make sure that it's getting out by targeting the local market. Again, KV Core is such a powerful tool and something to really talk to them about, right? We can do property boosts. We can then take a listing and put it onto social media, onto Facebook and Instagram specifically. We can do the cold to core mailings, like I mentioned, where we're blasting this out to 5, 10, 20,000 people that live nearby, right? And again, what I say is that we are not passive in our marketing, right? We actively market your listing. We don't just take the listing, put it online, and slap up an open house, but we actively go to find buyers for the listing. We also have real-time updates for everyone who looks at the property, right? We have statistics for all the different websites that you can get into through My Weichert. That way you can kind of show the seller what's going on and what the traffic's been like with the property. So again, we're gonna take the next step of actually going through the listing presentation and talking about each page individually. But the biggest things you can do after this workshop is to practice, right? Pick an apartment, do a listing presentation for it, and just get a sense through friends, family, or even me, or between the two of you, of actually doing the listing presentation. Find an accountability partner to work on with it. If you get a listing opportunity, find an experienced agent to help you, right? I can't tell you, the first 10 listing presentations I went on, Suzanne came with me, right? And I often worked with her on the deal. I can also come to help you get the listing as well if you do need help. But really, the best thing that we have as a community of brokers is that we have people you can partner up with, right? You might be getting a listing in Brooklyn, know nothing about Brooklyn, but we have many agents who are very familiar, and you guys can split the deal together, right? That's one of the best things about our team here is that we're collaborative and we help each other out. Okay, so with that, I'm going to, let me just minimize this. I'm going to actually show you guys let me open this up. I'm going to show you a listing presentation that I did. Hold on a second, let me stop the share here. It's just not opening. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. It's not working. Hold on. Okay, let me show you. Okay. Okay, so this is an actual listing presentation that I did. And again, it's customized for the seller. We put their information here on the right. You guys can see this, right?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Let me just make it smaller. So again, it's customized for the seller, for the address and things like that. So again, the first page is to tell them, when it comes to the sale of your property, I have one goal, right? And that's to sell it as quickly as possible for the best price possible. We have a 6-point selling system to actually do this. I'm going to talk about our marketing plan and talk about what we serve and what we give you as a seller working with Weichert. So again, your bio page will be customized in here. This is a great way to tell them a little bit more about yourself. If you live in the neighborhood, that's a great thing to bring up. Again, I always say I've been doing this for 14 years. I work primarily in downtown Manhattan as well as in Brooklyn. Unless I'm going after a listing uptown, then I say I work, all across Manhattan and things like that. I'm very active in the community, and I've been doing this for a long time and help many sellers like yourself to get things done quickly. And again, in this one, Will and I were doing the listing presentation together, so we have both people in there. Weichert is an amazing company. It's been around for over 51 years. We're approaching 52 years. Founded in 1969, and it's led by Jim and James Weichert. It's a privately owned company, and we serve markets across the United States, helping about 200,000 people a year move homes. So we have what I call our six-point differentiation factor. We do very differently than our competitors. We create an irresistible listing. We've got amazing internet marketing. We have a local and global reach that's unsurpassed. We have an ultimate open house program, which we've tailored for COVID. We offer complete home ownership solutions in terms of the services that our company provides. And we have an amazing pricing tool to make sure that we're pricing at the right number. So again, the first thing is really making sure that we're making your listing irresistible. Because everyone looks online, it's so important to make sure that we're creating an amazing online presence for your listing. We do that in a number of ways, and that really includes an amazing description, the photos that we take, as well as floor plans. Oftentimes we use videos, and we've got amazing providers who provide high quality edited photos and things like that. That is a cost that we take on. We also will make sure to feature the best parts of your residence. Again, the first picture, if you have outdoor space, will be that. Again, your kitchen's beautiful, so we'll make sure to be highlighting that and all the features of it. And what this does is it creates an amazing presence, right? The investment that we make in these photos and these floor plans will make sure that the most people will be seeing the property and interested in coming in to see it. From posting it online and on Weichert.com, it's going to feed to every major real estate website. And again, the most amazing thing about Weichert is that these are not only going to be websites here in New York City, but it's going to be, both across the United States as well as globally. We feed to all the major websites, including StreetEasy, Zillow, and Realtor.com, Homes.com, all these different things to make sure that your listings are broadcasted every possible place that they can be. Our company internet strategy makes sure that when people are doing searches online, that they're going to be seeing Weichert.com. We invest in keywords and searches and things like that, in digital advertising as well as social media advertising. And this drives almost 40 million people a year to Weichert.com. It's one of the top 10 real estate websites in the United States, actually. And once they get to Weichert.com, we're going to make sure that they see your listing, that the website is what we would call sticky. And what that means is that there's going to be a lot of functionality to it. So people can play around, they can imagine themselves there. It's going to start sending emails to the people about the listing and any changes in it or open houses that we have. And what this does is it makes sure that people are staying on the website longer. The other thing that we have is a call center. And I'm not sure how it was when you were looking for your last home, but oftentimes it takes agents hours, if not days, to get back to a prospective buyer. That's really not acceptable in this market. And so what happens is if someone sees the property online and I'm not available to take the call, it's going to go to our Weichert call center. And what that means is that our inquiries are answered on an average of 3 minutes after they come in versus 15 and a half hours or an ignored lead for our competitors. And so what this does is it captures interest. We get people in there. Either myself or one of my colleagues will get the call to set up the appointment. And my coworkers here at the office really know about all the listings that we have. And so they're going to be able to talk about it, set up the appointment with me, and make sure that those people get into the home as quickly as possible. We have a great tool that we use to actually market within your community. And again, this listing is on the Upper East Side. What we're going to do is we're going to target potential buyers who live within a radius of your home. And what we're going to do is we're going to actively engage with them to tell them about how great the market is, how great your listing is, and to get them in there to see it, right? We do just listed postcards, and I've had some really great success targeting rental buildings and getting people who are spending a lot on rent who can then be taking that those same funds and actually be buying something. The other thing that we do is we use a system called KV Core to send out postcards to people as well. It's a great way to make sure that we are actively marketing your listing and that the most people possible actually see it and get in there as quickly as possible. The great thing about Weichert is that, again, we're not just local and regional, but we're also international. And we're a member of the leading real estate companies of the world. Through that partnership, our listings are syndicated to all of our affiliate companies across the country as well as across the globe. This means that people are going to be looking all over the place and they are going to see your listing. In addition, Weichert runs a company called Weichert Workforce Mobility, which is the second largest relocation company on the planet. What that means is that anytime someone is moving to New York City, they're actually going to see your listing. And if it fits for their criteria, our agents can get them in there. This is a great way, again, to get people, especially at higher price points, into your property as these executives are being moved into the New York area. And this is just an example of some of the companies that are on here. We recently signed some large accounts like Ford Motor Company and Halliburton, actually. So those are some of the newer ones that we've signed. Again, our open house strategy has shifted because of COVID. But what we do is that we make sure to host as many open houses as you or the building will allow. We do it by appointment right now. And what we do is we put these online because every time the listing changes on these websites like Weichert.com, like Zillow, like Realtor.com, it will actually let the potential buyers know that there's a new open house or that there's a change in the listing. And so we post open houses. We do them by appointment, making sure to go through all COVID protocols and things like that. We also do virtual open houses where we can do videos or FaceTime things for potential buyers to get them in there. I often do short videos and send them to potential buyers and things like that. And what that does is it gets more people in there and more eyes on your property, which means that the price is going to be better when we do sell it. We also have a great social media marketing practice. I use KV Core to boost my properties on Facebook and on Instagram. Again, we've gotten tons of leads from this, and a few of our sales have actually sold through this boosting. People who didn't know that it was on the market, weren't even thinking about buying, click through. We got them pre-approved and they ended up buying the property. So it's great because people will share it with one another. They'll be able to save it online and things like that. And it really gets out within our region as well as across the country. We have a really great pricing tool called the Price Trend Analysis. And we look at what's been happening recently, what happened 6 months ago, what happened a year ago, and kind of target where the market's going, right? We don't want to leave any money on the table for you. And so we want to price it so that it sells in the timeline that you mentioned, but also making sure, again, that you're not losing anything and that you've gotten the most for this property because you only have one chance to sell it. So we're going to go through that at the end and go through the pricing that I came up with. But really, we have a way to differentiate ourselves for our competitors based on our pricing tool. Again, we're very active in the community. During COVID, this has paused a little bit more, but we are still volunteering. We're helping with New York Cares, an organization down the road from our Soho office. We also have the American Cancer Society as our company charity. And again, I just want to make sure that you understand the process that goes behind the sale of your home. Again, especially here in New York with co-op packages and processes, something I'm very familiar with. We're here through the entire process, right? From me here today, getting to know your home, all the way through closing and the next step in your life. We're here through everything to make sure that everything goes right. And we have a team of people to help support us. Again, I'm here to you to explain everything that happens, to return your calls promptly, to provide feedback and really represent you and your point of view, and to make everything as simple and smooth as possible. Again, what I'd like to do is, set up a time for my amazing photographer Heidi to come. Does next Tuesday work for you? Great, we'll get that set up. We'll go through all these things. I'll have my mortgage broker put together affordability sheets. We'll get the just listed cards out, and we've got a really amazing pre-marketing program to make sure this is getting out to the entire community before we even put it up on the MLS. Again, thank you so much for having us in. Really appreciate your time. And now let's talk about the pricing. And that's it. What do you guys think?
I think it's great. I want to share a story with you and maybe you have some advice here. So
Sure.
This was in New Jersey last year. I was given the opportunity to do a listing presentation on a historic home that needed a lot of work. And for various reasons, I came to a price point of $2 million. And they appreciated the presentation. We corresponded, and they ended up listing it with Turpin Realtors. And Turpin's a big local New Jersey group, also privately owned. But they said that Turpin suggested a price of $2.6 million. We suggested $2 million for various reasons. So they said that they gave the listing to Turpin because they felt they had a very good understanding of the historic nature and significance of the house. So they listed last August. I'm following it, keeping in touch with them if there's any dissatisfaction with the listing agent. So they listed at 2.6. Within 3 months, it's down to 2.3. It sits at 2.3 for 6 months. I reach out to them again. It was reduced 4 weeks ago to 2.15, and it went under contract. And my guess is it's under contract at 2 even, or possibly even less.
Yeah.
So, I want to follow up and kind of make the point that they wasted a year, but the business side of me.
What's the benefit of that? It's just going to make you. It's just going to make you feel good.
Yeah, so. So you give these people the right price point, and they ignore you and go for a high number.
Yep, and sometimes, again, in putting together the comps and in putting together things, there's another factor, right? There's the emotional factor of it, right? And they probably think they have a house that's worth $10 million when in reality it's worth under 2. And
Right.
So, one of the questions that I tend to ask when I go into the pricing is, what do you think it should be priced at?
Mm-hmm.
And again, especially if they like you and they like the presentation that you gave, and even if the price is a little bit outside of the normal range, sometimes you can get the listing with the understanding that you might have to drop it at some point, right? And sometimes it's worth, because again, they stuck with that same realtor the whole time.
Right.
Sometimes it's worth taking something a little higher. And again, 600,000 over, that's what, like, 30% over what it should have been at is a little
Yeah.
difficult because you're going to be spending time and money. But in the end, they got the sale, right? So
Yeah, and in some points, there aren't comps. Some houses don't have comps.
yeah,
So, um, this
Jason,
house, these houses that I'm gonna be working on are probably more cookie cutter, and the price trend analysis probably has more applicability. Certainly, the place in Sutton, I mean, I can just go into the 16 Sutton Place building and see where things have traded.
exactly.
Okay, thanks, Jason.
Yep. Ken?
Jason, doesn't it help to? It's what you just said, but it typically you buyers bid 7% lower in a normal market and usually get the bid hit because the seller wants to give a little room so they have some negotiating room. So isn't that the same thing with listing a little higher than what the market really is dictating and getting the listing that way?
There are many different ways to price, right? And again, a lot of it has to do with motivation, right? Is this someone's primary residence or is this an estate sale, right? Do they have to be out of here because they're moving to Florida, or are they just trying to get the best price possible? And so all of those things really factor in, right? There are some brokers who will go in and grossly underprice something because they want competition and the most people to see it, and then for the price to be bid up. Some people do what you said, Ken, and they'll put it a little bit above what they should go for. And oftentimes when I take a listing, I always say, why don't we bake in, 5 to 10%, not to be too off the market, but because again, if you want to get 450, let's put it at 475 because someone's going to come in with an offer. And again, if we get 475, we're happy. If we get 450, we're happy. But at least it again, if it's within the realm of probability and possibility, I would say.
Yeah, in that story I related, that was an estate sale, Jason. So.
And so you have to think, right? If there's a mortgage, the estate's paying the mortgage. If there's a, taxes in various, again, think of that listing, right? If they're paying, $60,000 a year in taxes on a home, and again, I don't know what they are in that neighborhood, but my friend's parents had something for a grandma's house for sale, and the taxes were $65,000 a year. And so every year it sat in the market, they were just throwing 65,000 plus heating, plus all that stuff out the door. So
right.
For some people, that's a lot. For some people, they say, I don't care, I can pay that, right? I just want to get a good price for it. So a lot of it's just based on motivation. And that's why really asking, why are you selling, and having that conversation before you do the listing presentation is important. Okay, well, thank you guys for your time. I'm going to send the slides out to you. I'm going to stop the recording if I can figure out how to. There we go. Thank you again.